been doing things that they told me I should never do. I've been doing things that they told me I could never do now. Never do, I could never do. I've been looking back and I'm the only one who ever knew. My dreams began to turn out.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Krysten Jansen, online fitness coach for the Natty Hour, and in today's video I thought I would give you guys another update with my Achilles tendon rupture. I am officially 11 weeks non-operative route, and this is kind of the only thing that's pretty exciting in my life, if you want to call it exciting. So that's why I'm just giving you guys updates, and I think that it will be just something good to look back on, and hopefully by me sharing my experience it's able to help other people who are going through the same injury, because it's actually a pretty brutal injury, and especially in those first few weeks it can be very disheartening, and you're just kind of scrambling to find information or someone you can relate to. So hopefully this is helpful for some other people out there. I think the last time I did an update for you guys I was still in the boot, and now I've officially been walking in my shoes for almost 2 weeks now. And a few days ago, maybe 4 or 5 days ago now, I was cleared by my physiotherapist to actually start training in my shoes. So when I've been walking for the last couple of weeks, it's just been around the house. When I take my dog for a walk around the block, and I even get Kyle to walk him, just so Hoot's not pulling me with the leash and everything like that, and I can go at my own pace. But yeah, for the last couple of days now, maybe 2 or 3 training sessions, I have actually been training in the gym with my shoes on. So I've had to take a step back because I definitely got very comfortable in the boots. So that's probably the best piece of advice I can give anyone who's transitioning, is you kind of have to go back to being careful, just because you don't want to overstretch or have any type of sudden movements to cause any, risk of re-rupture. That's kind of the biggest thing that we want to avoid, of course, right now, and one of the biggest fears when you transition out of the boot is the risk of re-rupturing. So you have to kind of scale things back again after getting used to being comfortable in the boot, where you're kind of doing things without having to really think about it. Now you have to take a step back and really think about things again, like every single step that you take, making sure that you're walking heel to toe, and that you're not taking too long of strides, and that you're trying to improve your gait so that way you're not walking with too much of a limp. I think the limp will kind of be normal until my calf muscle starts to improve, but yeah, overall we're seeing pretty good progress, and I definitely feel, minus the slowness of my walking right now, that most of my life has pretty much returned to normal. I say most of my life. For a lot of people, a lot of their life has returned to normal, but not all of it. And for me, it's just because my training isn't where I want it to be, and that's because I'm not really doing any compound movements out of my shoe. I am doing them in the boot though, still just in my home gym. I'll try to overlay some footage here, but I'll try and do just some like squats and deadlifts while I'm in the boot. And the reason I'm staying in the boot is just because the tendon is not strong enough to support the load, and I don't want to stress it too much, but I still want to try to make sure I'm performing these movements so I don't have too much of an imbalance when I slowly start to transition to doing these movements in my shoes. So it's more so just for muscle maintenance at this point, making sure that I avoid as much atrophy as possible, even though I've experienced quite a lot of it, especially in my quad and my calf, but that's to be completely expected with an injury like this. So I'm trying to mitigate that as much as possible, so that way when I get back into training, there's no additional injuries in other areas. I don't want to injure my back because there's an imbalance, and due to the mismanagement or mismatch of strength on my left side compared to my right side. So that's kind of my rationale as to why I'm still doing some of these movements in the boot. But the majority of my exercises that I'm doing in the gym right now are more so open chain movements. So that's where the distal segment isn't stationary. So like lying leg curls, leg extensions, stuff like that. The only closed chain movements that I'm doing for lower body, so that's where the distal segment is stationary, and that would be movements like body weight, glute bridges, and hip thrusts, and that's about it. So I'm still doing a lot of upper body movements, pretty much normal as I normally would. Besides from maybe standing overhead press, I've just been doing them seated, but everything else in regards to upper body has remained the same, so that part's really exciting. But I think something that I wanted to talk about in today's video, today's update, before I show you guys what my walk is looking like, and this is something that everybody can relate to. It's not just anybody who only the people who have gone through an Achilles tendon rupture. I think it can be for anyone, especially women, when you come into situations where you need to slow things down and pump the brakes when it comes to dieting. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because when I first injured myself, I was debating back and forth whether I was going to be dropping my calories to account for the lack of exercise that I knew was about to occur due to this injury. You know, especially the first couple of weeks, you're supposed to be immobile, so a lot of sitting on the couch, a lot of Netflix that was going on, and you know, there's not a lot of activity, especially for someone like myself who's a very active person, having to completely scale things back. You know, of course the question comes to mind, okay, well, should I drop my calorie intake just so I don't gain weight? And after weighing the pros and cons for myself, I decided not to drop my calories, and if there was going to be a little bit of an increase in my weight, it was something that I was willing to accept. And a couple of reasons for that. Firstly, my body is extremely adaptive. I understand how my body works. You know, I've been tracking my calories for over 6 years now, so I have a pretty good idea of how my body's going to respond to things. And I knew if I dropped my calories that I would be really hungry. And it was just a level of uncomfort that I didn't want to have to go through. I mean, I kind of figured that an Achilles tendon rupture was enough discomfort to deal with amongst all of the other amazing things that 2020 has brought us, that me being hungry and feeling uncomfortable dealing with hunger was just not something that I wanted to go through. And I knew that if I was consistent and I didn't go off the rails with my calorie intake, and I still made an effort to track my calories every single day, eventually my body would start to plateau. And that's exactly what happened. So initially, within probably the first 6 weeks, I gained 5 pounds. Whoa, scary, right? To a lot of women, that is scary, and I'm not discrediting that, but at the end of the day, it's just 5 pounds. And at first, you know, of course, you can feel a little bit frightened by that when you see the scale go up, but I maintained my level of consistency, I held strong, and eventually my body started to adapt to the lack of exercise, where I actually plateaued and I started to maintain my weight. So yes, I gained 5 pounds in the first 6 weeks, but basically 6 weeks after, 5 weeks after, because we're at 11 weeks now, I haven't gained any weight. I've been making sure that I don't overconsume what my calorie targets already are at. I'm also moving a lot more now that I'm walking, so that kind of helps account for me being able to maintain where I'm at. And yeah, I'm actually really happy with that. And another reason why I decided not to cut my calories is because at that point, like especially in those first couple of weeks, your body is healing. And your body needs the adequate amount of nutrients to make sure that it can heal properly. So by depriving it of any necessary nutrients was just not a risk I was willing to take. And I figured having more food, you know, making sure that you're still prioritizing the majority of your foods coming from whole nutrient dense items, I knew that having more food, you know, I would ensure that I was getting an abundant amount of vitamins and minerals, and even the appropriate proteins that my body needs in order to heal properly. And I think that, you know, nutrients and nutrition when it comes to healing is very important. And, you know, just based on my own education and my own research, you know, cutting your calories when you're injured is just not a good idea. And you kind of have to be willing to accept that, hey, you know what, you might gain a little bit of weight, but as long as you maintain your consistency with your plan, you don't use it as an excuse to say screw it and eat everything in sight because you don't want to be hungry. You still need to hold yourself accountable to that. And because of that, I was able to maintain weight. And what's really cool, and I haven't actually told anyone this yet, is I'm actually starting to lose weight. which is crazy. So like I said, I think it's because my activity levels have definitely gone up. I'm on the bike now. I'm doing a warm up and a cool down. So, you know, of course, my energy expenditure has gone up. So it's not surprising to hear that my weight is starting to go down. Not by much. I gained 5 pounds and then I lost 1.5 pounds, I think, in the last week or so. So that's basically what I'm going through. And it just kind of goes to show you that you can change your body composition without changing anything externally, as long as you just maintain a level of consistency and adhere to what you're currently doing and just kind of let your body do its thing. And that's just kind of what I wanted to do with this injury was, you know what, I'm going to trust my body that it knows what it needs to do in order to get better. And, you know, me showing up and just being consistent with my nutrition and my rehab, I'm going to trust that everything's going to work out. And sometimes it's tough. I completely understand that a lot of people struggle with that, putting in that level of trust, but sometimes you just have to trust the process and jump in with both feet and just remember that consistency, as lame and cliche as it really is the key to a lot of variables in our life. So yeah, that's my experience. Hopefully you guys find that helpful. Before I sign out the video though, let me quickly show you guys my walk right now. So yeah, that's basically it. I hope you guys found this helpful. I'll try to do different videos for you guys so that way my channel doesn't turn into just an Achilles tendon rupture channel. I will start to get back into more fitness related stuff, if you will. That's something I've been wanting to do for a while. I apologize for the lack thereof, but it's just been a friggin' brutal year for I think most people to kind of be consistent with whatever their goals are, because all of our goals have definitely taken a turn this year and it's been a tough year, but I promise that things are looking up. I'm very optimistic that all of us have the ability to finish the year strong, so I'm hoping I can provide you with some content to keep you guys motivated and inspired to do the same. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next one.